everybody, Marissa here, out on my deck on a very rainy Wednesday. It is the 4th of May. For those of you Star Wars fans, may the 4th be with you. And I just am making this little preface to the speech that I am posting on here. Just to say, this is from the spring committee meeting for the National Constitution Party. And they asked me to speak about Wyoming politics, to introduce myself, and to talk a little bit about my race. So I hope you enjoy. Be blessed and stay free. Support the Selvig for Congress campaign. www.selvigforcongress.com.
Thank you. And now, Marissa Selvig from Wyoming, running for U.S. House of Representatives.
Oh man, how do I follow that one, Paul? Hasn't this been awesome? What great speakers, and I feel like I've been in a college lecture. It's been fantastic. Well, I would say Western greetings from Wyoming, and on behalf of my state, I would like to extend the following non-invitation. Please don't move there, we're full. But I'm just kidding. If you're a constitutionalist, we'll take you. Maybe we can eventually reach as many people as we have antelope. That would be nice. Well, my name is Marissa Joy Selvig, and Joy is my middle name, so I just want to preface this talk I'm giving with sometimes I do laugh. It's not because I'm crazy. It's not because I'm like Kamala, ew, right? No, thank you. I just am full of life and joy, and I'm excited about this race, and I love America. So I am a mom. I have 4 wonderful children. I have a husband of almost 16 years. I am a worship leader at Foundations for Nations Ministries. I am the former mayor of the town of Pavilion, population 235. Ooh. And yes, we're so big in Wyoming. I'm just kidding. So I run the free food pantry that our church runs. I am on the EDGE committee for the city of Riverton, which is a committee that is a recommending body to the city of Riverton on the half-cent economic development tax that our county passed on itself. So like Bob yesterday, he sits on his planning committee, you said, or housing committee? Right. Well, Housing Authority Board, yeah. It's important that people who believe in the Constitution get onto committees in our cities so that we can be that voice of fiscal responsibility when it comes to spending taxpayer dollars. So other than that, I am soon to be a Little League scorekeeper. I'm going to be a cheerleader mom next year, as one of my 14-year-old is going to be on the cheerleading team. She's very excited about that. I love to garden. I'm all about ripping up your lawn. So if you have a lawn, I hope that you rip it up and plant a garden. And I also love to brew kombucha and play with power tools. So my husband likes to call me the Swiss Army knife of women because I can do anything that I put my mind to. And I think that's so sweet of him to say that. And so I like to tell people that. I think we can all be Swiss Army people. That's what we need in America. That's what we are in America. We are Swiss Army knife people. We can do what we put our minds to because we're full of ingenuity and we're full of entrepreneurship. And I have hope for America because we are full of great people. So my website is easy. It is selvigforcongress.com. You can find all of my social media links there. And in a race like this, and in all of your races for people who are running, get on social media because the age group of 18, the brand new voters to, I would say even 40, I'm almost 40, that age group is often overlooked. And they are on social media, and they are on some of the social medias that older people don't like to be on, like Instagram and TikTok and all those kinds of things. And so it's important to reach out to the young people. As I'm going to talk about later, even the kids are hungry for change. So I am running in Wyoming for the U.S. House of Representatives seat. We only have one, and it is currently held by Representative Liz Cheney. We give her a thumbs down in Wyoming. We even got a boo, oh man. So I'll be running for whoever wins that primary, the GOP primary. Right now, I think there's 5 people still in that race for the United States House of Representatives in the GOP. So that would be Liz Cheney. It is also Harriet Hageman, who is the one that Trump endorsed. And that is quite the battle in that GOP race. It's going to eventually be a bloodbath because that primary isn't until the end of August. So in Wyoming, we get a whole summer's worth of political fighting, and it's going to be crazy. So hopefully I'll come in the end and be like, would you like a voice of reason? Vote for Marissa. Because it's going to be nuts. If you haven't watched the news, everybody talks about Liz and Harriet, and it's crazy. It really is. It kind of drives me nuts a little bit. But you know, what I mentioned before about that younger age group, I think another group that the Constitution Party can really reach out to are the unaffiliated voters. I used to be an unaffiliated voter, and I think that is a large block of people who are looking for something to believe in. And I think when we present the Constitution properly to them, they can make a wise decision. I like to say informed voters make better choices. And I think that is one group we can reach out to. I hope to do that, you know, in between this time where the GOP is fighting it out. I hope to reach out to those unaffiliated voters. In Wyoming, we have about 18,790 registered unaffiliated voters. So that's a lot of people, but they're everywhere, and I hope to reach out to them. So if you're watching today, I'm coming for you. So we in Wyoming like to be left alone to our land, our mountains, our giant skies, and our clean air. I used to have, there was a person from a mission team in Texas who came to our church last week, or the week prior. And he said, I hate to admit this, but I think your skies are bigger than ours in Texas. And so we all said hooray to that one, because we know it in Wyoming. Our skies are big and they are blue. And we want to be left alone there. But, you know, sometimes our weather is bad and our wind is incessant. It drives us a little crazy, and my husband is a mental health professional, so we know that is true. You know, but we endure because we love it. We are, in general, a very rugged and fiercely independent people in Wyoming. But like every other state in the Union, we are being infiltrated by leftists who are trying to turn our state blue by bringing their socialist ideals. Even though you'd think a state like Wyoming, we are largely Republican, as is our legislature, but our fight is internal. It's internal inside the Republican Party. We are lucky that Medicaid expansion did not pass in Wyoming during this session. I think they tried to bring it up 3 different times, and each time it failed. But we have to be vigilant in Wyoming, otherwise they will try and expand Medicaid, excuse me. Our spending is crazy, and we also had a special session last summer, which we don't normally do. Wyoming is an interesting state. It's different than some states. We don't have a session that goes all year. Our sessions in Wyoming for our state legislature only go from January to March, and then they're off, and they do their committee meetings throughout the rest of the year. So really, Wyoming people have citizen legislators. But they don't really act like it sometimes. And so they had a special session last summer to come up with a solution for unconstitutional mandates. And that resulted in pretty much a nothing burger, which was amazing and terrible at the same time. We also could not get an election runoff bill, which we need in Wyoming, because we are, as I said, a highly Republican state. And it's important for us to be able to not just have someone win with a majority and not 50% plus one. So we weren't able to get that election runoff bill passed, nor were we able to pass a crossover voting bill. And in Wyoming, Democrats can change their party affiliation and vote in the Republican primary on the day of. And they can do that in any election, actually. Republicans could do the same thing if they wanted to mess up the Democrats' primary election. They could do the same, but you can change your party affiliation on the day of and vote in whatever primary you'd like to do. So that's something that they're trying to change, and they weren't able to because of the way that our legislature is voting currently. In my race, I like to talk about many things. I especially like to take questions from people. So if I don't take up all this 10 minutes, I would like to open this up at the end to just have a good discussion, because communication is important to me. But I talk about many things in my race, and those things include Jesus first, because none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. So if you haven't put your trust in Jesus, please do that today. I also like to talk about the budget, morality, communication, the Constitution, virtue, a need for real and practical solutions, and my idea for a new 3 R's for America, which are revelation, revival, and restoration. I am very different from the other candidates who are running in Wyoming. My race is a tough one, though. Depending on who wins the primary, I will be up against Liz Cheney, who has the name recognition, the bazillions of dollars that she is raising from PAC money all over the nation, and she is the darling of the moderates in Wyoming and of the Democrats, because that is who she is currently courting to vote for her. So if she doesn't win, I'll be up most likely against Harriet Hageman, who is a lifetime attorney. I refer to her as the chosen one by Trump because he endorsed her. She is the darling of the Republicans nationwide because of that endorsement. And there is millions of dollars pouring into her campaign. She has Washington, D.C. connections and swampy GOP politicians fundraising for her. And people also like her just for the fact that she isn't Cheney. So she is a challenger, and they are both very accomplished women. But I don't think that either of those ladies is right for representing Wyoming in Washington. I think that I am. Because I want us to be free from the government. And that's just not my state, that's everybody. Everybody represented here. I want everybody to be free from the government. I love America for who she is, not what I can get out of her. And I love that chesed, right? Did I say it right? I think that's so cool. We have a duty to honor our country and serve her because we love her. Isn't that good? I just think that's great. We love our country, and we make that covenant with her, that morally informed, mutually affirming agreement. Can you tell I took notes? That was so good. That was so good. I'm going to use some of those because these are things I talk a lot about on the trail, especially when I talk about virtue in governance and how that is something that we're missing. I said before, I believe in the American people, that we are full of entrepreneurs and ingenuity and self-reliance. Sometimes to our detriment, we're self-reliant when it comes to things like taking care of our neighbor, as was spoken before. But I do believe in us, and I think that even if they don't know it, Americans have an ingrained desire to be free and not under the thumb of tyrants in Washington. I believe in the good plan that God has for America. And like Cindy said, let God handle it, right? He said, let God handle it. Well, I say God is handling it because he has called people like me to run for office. And Paul too, man, he has called people like us to run for office. As a worship leader, I feel like I'm on the front lines because what did God do in the beginning? He sent in the worshipers first. And so I feel like one of those, right? He's sending in the worshipers. And so I believe that once again, we will appeal to heaven as a nation, that righteousness, integrity, honesty, and just all around virtue will once again matter to the majority, that we will again look to God as our supreme judge of the world, that we will rise up as our forefathers did and take back the nation from those who wish to destroy it. To use a horse analogy, it is past, my Wyoming people will appreciate this, it is past time for the average citizen like you and I and all of our friends and all of our families to take back the reins and put the bit into the mouth of the government and lead it in the right direction. We can't just complain, we have to lead. It is our duty. We have to lead. We have to teach. We must be bold, and we must intercede for our country, and we must pray for our enemies. We must pray for our enemies. God calls us to do that. there have been times in my prayer time where I've literally seen in my mind a picture of the faces of the squad members, right? And so God has me already praying for those ladies. And I'm excited to meet them and to show them the love of Jesus is real and that not all people hate them because they're from the squad. Now, are they doing the right thing in Washington? No, they're not. And so, I hope to be able to have an influence on women like that and people like that, because they need somebody to come alongside them and say, hey, here's a constitution. Have you ever read this before? I think that that's important. So we need to minister to people wherever we're at, in our jobs, in Washington, in our city government, in any of the 7 mountains of influence, if you've ever heard of those analogies, all the different things that are in our nation, that are those different spheres of influence. We have to minister to people because that's our job. Our nation is full of lost sheep. They really are sheep. And I think that has been made so evident in the last 2 years, how many sheeple there are in America. And it shouldn't be surprising to us because God tells us that we're sheep, aren't we? And the lost sheep of this nation are heading for the cliffs. They are. They're heading for the cliffs. Our whole nation is headed for the cliff. And what are we going to do? Are we going to let them go off the cliff? Or are we going to extend a hand and lead them to safety? I think that that's what we need to do. People are hungry for someone to lead them, not just to tell them what to do or give them a law. They need to be taken by the hand and led in the right direction. So let's let God do that through us. Because really, it's he who leads. He's the one who has all the answers. He's the one who can give us divine wisdom and for the solutions that we need to find in America. So let's let God lead them through us by saying yes. In the words of John Quincy Adams, as we're said already today, the duty is ours, but the results are God's. So that is what I have to say today. And I don't know how much time I have left, but there's one other thing that I wanted to mention in regards to Mr. Pearson's talk. You had said something about it never going away, or the battle of the two parties, and something that we had the privilege of having Mr. Don Blankenship come and speak at our convention in Wyoming. And one of the things that he said that I really appreciated was to tell people who are concerned about voting for a minor party, right? We call it minor, right? Not third party. We don't want to use the language. Take back the language, right? Just like we need to take back the rainbow. Yesterday, when they were talking about LGBTQ issues, I was thinking about my planner, which is a rainbow planner, and I thought, it's time for us to take back the rainbow. That's right. It's ours anyway, right? But what Don Blankenship said was to tell them this. If you're satisfied with the way things have been going, go ahead and keep voting the same. I thought it was simple and it's effective to just have people think about it in that way, where our government, what did he say? 20 of the last 28 years, Mr. Flukiger, 20 of the last 28 years have been in Republican control in one house or another, or with the presidency. And has anything gotten better in the last 28 years? No, it has not. So that's just something interesting that we can point out to people. But I just appreciate you giving me this time to speak. I hope to speak to many of you at lunch. And once again, I am Marissa Joy Selvig, and I am running, and I want to help fix America one step at a time. So thank you.
Well, you can see we have a real firebrand running for representing the Constitution Party in Wyoming. We're so glad for that. I wish her the best. I would urge you all to, let's pour out support for her in every way that we can.